All right, in this video, we're going to talk about the other pieces that go into the financial provisions for the children. So we've got, first thing we have to talk about is life insurance. So it's important for the two of you to decide on an amount of an amount of life insurance that would, in the event that something happened to either one of you, an amount of life insurance that would replace that parent's contribution to the child's expenses. So even if only one of you, child support's only going in one direction, you're going to both want to have a certain amount of life insurance where you have each other designated as beneficiaries in trust for the children, so that in the event that something happens to one of you, the other parent has some help shouldering the financial responsibilities that they'll have for the child going forward. The amount of life insurance that you're going to want to agree on, it depends on how many children, the ages of the children, how long that child support could be payable for, how long the child will be dependent on that parent, right? So you give some thought to that. Well, there's no magic to it, but think in terms of, heaven forbid, something should happen to one of us tomorrow. What would be an amount of money that would help to provide for the child, to help provide for the child's financial well-being until they are no longer considered dependent? Okay. The other thing I want to talk about is an annual review. So once you've decided on the amount of child support that's going to be paid or how you're going to deal with child support, what the law says is when you establish child support for the first time, you want to do it using the amount of income, a number for the income of each parent that is most representative of that parent's current ability to pay. So when you're establishing a separation agreement for the first time, even though we ask for the last 3 years tax returns, really what we're looking at is, what is your current income? So it doesn't matter what your last 3 years income was. If you just got a brand new job, we're going to use the income from the brand new job. Okay, but then the law says that once a year, you're going to exchange tax returns and notices of assessment so that you can redo the calculation that you've already done with those new numbers and see if any of the numbers change, if the proportions of your income change, if the offset amount changes, if the monthly table amount changes. And if it does, then you're going to want to, as best you can, at first, try to work that out between the two of you. If it's a big change, you may want to have a lawyer draft an amendment to the agreement for you. If it's a small amount, you can probably just agree to it yourselves. I recommend always doing it in writing, though, so that you're clear, so that everyone's clear on what's payable. And here's the tricky part. When you're doing that, so let's say I suggest you do it June 1st, because June 1st every year, you should have had time to get your notice of assessment back. So let's say we're in June 1st, 2025. Well, June 1st, 2025, you're going to have 2024's tax return. So the income information is dated. It's not current anymore, right? The income that you made in 2024, the total income that you made in 2024 might not necessarily be representative or indicative of what you're making when you do the recalculation June 1st, 2025. And so one of the things that you're going to want to build into the child support piece and or the review piece is, are we going to use the base amount of income? Are we going to calculate bonuses or overtime? These are all considerations that you want to take into account when you're calculating child support. It's why it can get kind of complicated. But when you're reviewing year after year, what you need to know is you're going to exchange your returns and your notice of assessment. You're going to have a conversation about should the amount change or not. And then you're going to decide, once you know what that change is, you're going to decide, do we need to put a formal or an informal agreement? If you can't agree on what the new amount is or whether the amount should be changed, then I like to include in my separation agreements a provision that says that you'll first, before anyone starts court applications, that you'll, if you can't work it out amongst yourselves, you'll at least go to a mediator and try to work it out between yourselves with the help of the mediator. And if you still can't agree, then and only then, as a last resort, will you start court proceedings to bring the matter before a judge. The other thing you need to know that goes along with the child support piece is once you have a child support clause, either in an agreement or in a court order, like so once you have your separation agreement in place, if you decide that you want to have that enforced for whatever reason, then what you would do is you would bring that agreement to the court, and the court has a mechanism in place where they have an support enforcement office, and they would make arrangements with you to have the child support taken directly from whatever the child support is, whoever pays what to who, it would come directly from your pay. So important to know that that's an option if you decide that you want an outside mechanism to have the child support payable between the two of you, instead of just having the amounts payable directly to each other through e-transfer, is the typical way, then you would know that that's an option for you. One other thing that I would say that I probably should have said in the last video, but sort of has to do with enforcement, is if we talked about that list of categories of expenses, if you are in a shared parenting situation and you have the offset amount and you're sharing the children's other expenses proportionate to your incomes, you're going to want to decide on what that looks like. How are we going to share those expenses? Like, practically speaking, not just the proportions and the amounts, but what's that going to look like on a monthly basis? My strong recommendation is that you have some sort of mechanism in place, like a shared Excel document, where you would each put in what expenses you had, what you spent money on that month. So if parent A paid for a haircut 1 month, put that into the Excel document. If parent B that month bought a pair of winter boots, put that into the Excel document. And then once a month or once every 2 or 3 months, you're going to want to reconcile those amounts to know, does one parent owe the other, in order to have that sharing proportionate to your incomes. Okay, I know it's a lot. We will absolutely talk about that in your mediation sessions, and I will help you. But it is incredibly helpful for you to at least, you can see this is so much information to share with you. Watching this video ahead of time at least gives you an idea of all of the pieces of it, so that when we deal with it in your joint sessions, you're not going to be hearing it for the first time, and it's going to make it much more efficient for us to figure it out. Just know we have software called DivorceMate that is crucial to dealing with child support, and I'll walk you through it. It's going to be okay. All right, let's leave it there.